Hello and welcome to the Authority Club. My name is Sue Richardson and I'm the publisher of the Authority Guides, little books of business brilliance for entrepreneurs, business leaders and business professionals. Today I'm talking to Tim Johnson. Now Tim is the author of The Authority Guide to Meaningful Success, how to combine purpose, passion and promise to create profit for your business. Welcome, Tim.
It's going to sound like a crazy big question, Tim, but what is meaningful success?
Yeah, I've been working on how to get that in a nutshell for a while now. But in simple terms, it's around actually, certainly within the workplace, within entrepreneurialism, is to have a business that actually creates a positive impact to something that feel passionate about and that's worthwhile, but doing that in a way which is efficient and effective enough that you can make more than enough money without busting your gut, without being stressed out, so that you have the time to spend with your friends, family, and do the other things you want to do in life. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And the reason, how did I come to that was because, well, if I tell you a bit about my backstory, if you like. Yeah, way back in the 90s, I'd go back even further than that. I was brought up in a poor family, single parent family on benefits. And so, making money was kind of really important. I didn't want to live the life that I'd been brought up in. So, and I didn't have the political skills to make it in the big corporate land. So in small businesses is where I made my mark. And I bought into a small failing business in the early 90s. It was a manufacturing business, and that was a small failing startup. We took that from 200,000 to 4 million turnover in about 8 years. And we had 50 staff, plant, machinery, buildings, delivery vehicles, you name it. And but it made a nice, very healthy 6-figure income, big fat V8 4-litre Lexus, big house, big mortgage, 3 young children, the classic, made it story. And but at the same time, it was kind of, there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of mouths to feed, and a lot of pressure. And in a peak of frustration one night, feeling sort of very much trapped. Actually, I drove my big fat 4-litre Lexus around country lanes well too fast and managed to turn it upside down and put it on the roof. And fortunately, nobody else was out. It's just me driving like a nutter and so on. And the body does amazing things because I managed to somehow get out of that upside down car with no consciousness about it. I still have no memory of it at all. And the first thing I can remember is standing down, looking down at the upside down car that was below me in this ditch and thinking, well, what do I do now? And to cut a long story short, I managed to wander down this lane and knocked on somebody's door. She landed out being a theatre nurse and, laid me down in a hallway and kept me conscious whilst the ambulance arrived. And then the following day, the surgeon apologised for amputating my arm at the elbow. So I now have a short right arm. But it was flapping at the time from the shoulder. So I thought I was going to lose it from there. So actually, perception-wise, I thought that was a bonus. I was alive. I'd got half an arm rather than no arm. And I was also left-handed, which also helped. And but my luck kind of ran out then because I contracted MRSA. My business partner terminated my directorship whilst I was in hospital. And it took 2 years to physically mend the broken arm at the shoulder. So it was a bit of a long haul recovery. So mentally, I went back to university and took an MBA, learned how to put the theory behind the practice of what I'd done in creating a successful business. Physically, I was so weak at one point, it took 5 minutes to walk up a single flight of stairs. And at that point, I was terrified. It was like, whoa, I'm going to get fit. Yeah. And it was that kind of that clear compass point. No smart goals around that. It's just like, I'm going to get fit. And then it was baby steps. Could I get to the letterbox at the end of the road and back? And eventually, a couple of years or so later, I landed out doing an Olympic distance triathlon.
Amazing.
is and a mile in the pool with one paddle, 26 miles on a bike, and then it was a 5 or 10k race at the end of it, and did it in a half reasonable time.
That's incredible.
And then sort of started the whole emotional counselling journeys and trained as a mediator because from the litigation stuff, and started a business. I thought, what's my purpose? What's the thing? I've got this time out. What's important? And I created this business concept called business mediation, taking business strategy and conflict management and bringing the two together and affecting business turnarounds that way. And I went down to the business link, as it was those days, and said, how do you set up your little business? And I said, go networking. So I did. And there was kind of two camps. There was BNI, which was quite really structured, rule-based networking. And then there was a Chamber of Commerce, which was like the high and mighty sort of, lording it up. And it was a bit like what we used to call school disco. It's like you just left in a room to get on with it. And so along that journey, the business mediation, nobody got it. It was too complicated, and nobody would admit they got the problem in the first place, let alone pay a third party to go and solve it. So I landed up doing debt solutions as a franchise because that was there's plenty of people with debt that need problems. But along the journey, I met a guy called Brad Burton, who was a young, bristling with energy guy, and full of enthusiasm and drive, but just kind of a bit aimless at the same time. And he wanted to set up the largest networking group in Somerset, and which is where I lived at the time. And I said, you don't need me. With your energy, you'll piss it. Just get on with it. And he said, no, I really want your help. I said, okay, if you've got the drive, energy and passion to set up a national network, you've got yourself a deal. You put bums on seats and I'll make it happen. And so we did. And we went, we co-founded For Networking together. And he was the front of the house. And I labeled the wizard behind the curtain to do all the, the thinking, the strategy, the structure, the systems, the business model, and so on, to enable it to grow. And people used to say, aren't you surprised how quickly 4N's grown? I said, no, it was on purpose, deliberate, by design. In fact, I'd had intended it to grow faster than it did, but that's such is life. And so in 4 or 5 years, we went from literally nothing to a complete national network, half a dozen groups in Australia, and we had a ball. The team grew, and it was me and Brad, and then Tamsin and Terry came on board, and the four of us with different skill sets, different backgrounds, different ages, and we really worked as a high-performing team until we got the vision. We set the vision out, and then we had a different view of what the purpose of that network was for. So it's one thing having a clear vision, but actually I hadn't really nailed the underlying purpose. And Tamsin and I had the assumption it was about the members, and Brad thought it was about Brad. So he had more shares, so we had a vote, and we parted company. And to a certain extent, my work was done. I'd done the structure, the systems, the processes behind it. And so I went off on a whole new journey, trying to follow lots of get-rich-quick schemes, from buying distressed businesses for £1 or property and houses and multiple occupation and all these kind of things. They sound great, and had a good go at them and had some success and some not so success. And then one of the challenges about being, I've always been very business focused. For me, success has been, some version of, status and wealth, a poor man's version of fame and fortune, if you will. When I've got lots of money and the status of houses and cars and being an owner of a successful business, I've got status and I've got money, and therefore I'm top kiddie and everything's great. The problem is actually it's not as simple as that, as I found out, because my marriage fell apart, and we parted once our youngest had finished her GCSEs, and landed out uh, in a flat in Bristol on my own, trying to work it all out. And then I realised I brought myself with me. That was an interesting journey.
One does that.
Yes, indeed. And then I wrote my first book, which was trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
And I'd had this thing that actually, if success isn't out there when, this whole fame and fortune gig, then and then the Buddhists or the mindfulness guys will say, success is right here, right now, and the whole inner peace thing. I'm thinking, well, if it's all about inner peace, then why get off the sofa? And I kind of wrestle with this for a while, and it's like, well, what's going on? And then I worked out that actually there's out there win, which is kind of what we create externally, and right here, right now is how we connect with ourselves on an inner world. So there's kind of an outer world creation and an inner world connection. And I thought, okay, those are kind of actually opposite corners of a grid of inner world and outer world and connection and creation. And that created a whole model with spokes of connecting stuff up that applied equally to business and also to your life. And that became the basis of this book. And I don't know if this comes across well in, I think, it probably doesn't read overly well, but it's summarized in a little in a little diagram at the back that the book takes you through. But it gives a really simple way to make sense of your whole life and your business, so that they work well together.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Because actually, if you have a successful business, that makes a positive impact to your clients and the people you work with.
Yes.
That actually is a great feeling. Working in a high performing team is some of the best feelings I've ever had. But also you need to have good relationships at home. So I did a lot of work around that over the last couple of years, and I now have a wonderful new fiance and a much healthier basis of relationship than I had when I was started out in my 20s. But also you need to be much more comfortable in your own skin, because the more comfortable in your own skin, actually everything comes easy, which is the mindfulness guys. And then there's also the law of attraction piece, which is about being clear about your vision and being open to possibilities. Without getting too wrapped up in the planning and the minutiae, and it's having the space to have the bigger pictures and the possibilities. But it's difficult to have any of the nice stuff if you're worried about paying the bills at the end of the month, if you're working 60, 80 hours a week just to make ends meet, because it's out of kilter, it's out of balance. And so what I do now is create a program to help people to nail their purpose, both personally and professionally, and how to use online techniques to enhance those, so that you don't have to, you can start automating some of your marketing, you start automating some of the ways you explain things to your clients, rather than having to do that. You create it once, use it many times. Same way as you write a book, all the information's there. I've written it once. Go and read the book. You can do the stuff with video-based training. So if you're an accountant, you want to onboard your clients, you can actually work rather than having the same conversation over and over and over, which actually wastes everybody's time. Take a little bit of time out and record it in a video, or a series of videos, and so that you attract the clients that get your process. This is the way we work because and this is what you need to be organized to get your bookkeeping done so it works with us. And if people don't like that, then they'll go and find somebody else to work with. So you start attracting the clients that resonate with the way you work.
So it all starts really with you and your values and your vision and your purpose, and that's where you begin your work with people, which is, as in a sense, after telling us your amazing story, and where you've very clearly described how you created in the second business, you clearly kind of worked from a place of you'd learned so much from what had happened to you previously, and how your own kind of personal journey, through creating a very outwardly successful business, didn't actually make you happy. I mean, one of the things I think that is so interesting about what you say there, Tim, is that, like we were talking earlier, if so many of us go into business because we think we've got something special to bring, we think we've got something great to offer.
Yes,
we can trundle along, we can perhaps get a little kind of weighed down by some of the issues and the problems that we face, and we wake up one morning and think, and we've forgotten why we're doing it. We can't remember. I mean, I know that's happened to me certainly over the years, and it can be really hard because, as you say, we can't just we can't just go and get a new job. We're
no,
stuck.
that's right.
But we're not stuck, but we're in a position where perhaps we have to spend some time reconnecting with why we fell in love with what we're doing in the first place, why we're doing what we're doing, what's important. Or, as you described so clearly in your experience with your second business, where suddenly you find that you're not in alignment with your colleagues or your your partners or whatever, and then something has to change, because actually without that common shared vision and purpose, we're probably not going to be creating something that has the value that we need. And I think for me that whole concept of you talk so articulately about success and what we think it is and what it looks like, and the fast car and the cash and the nice house or whatever, and of course those things are lovely to have, but at the end of the day, without the meaningful part,
absolutely,
it means nothing really. And it can go in a heartbeat, it can be gone. Whereas the other side, the bit which is about what we're really about as human beings, is the part that will stay with us no matter what. That's
right. And there's no shortage of celebrity calamity stories. And when they get uncovered and you see the insecurity behind all the front, even when they're gazillionaires literally, and actually the same principles apply, because we're all the same. That's the crazy thing. And the same principles actually, if you are comfortable in your own skin, have great relationships, have a business which you run rather than the business running you, and that's on purpose, aligned with what's important to you, but also run. One of the reasons about people find it hard to run a business, because it's not as easy as it first looks. Which is, there are four part of the 4 quadrants came out. The original version of it is when I'd come out of doing my MBA. They talked about the problem of functional silos within businesses, where each department just looks at their own things, like the finance department just looks at things from a finance perspective and so on, and they start to create turf wars, and then of course they go and teach the MBA in functional silos. So it's like, well, how do I make sense out of this? So I created my own basic model, which is a kind of the 4-wheel drive model, where you have sales and marketing and people as being 2 front wheels of a business, and a lot of early stage entrepreneurial business are all about sales and marketing and people.
Yes.
And as they get more mature, it tends to be the accountants and the operations guys. So you've got sort of operations and process and finance and control as being the real wheels. And old established businesses tend to be run by accountants, and it's all about the metrics and the numbers, and they kill the enthusiasm of the sales and marketing and the people at the front end. And so and the problem is they're all different skill sets, and it's difficult to get them all together, particularly in a small business, because if we're running our own business, we have to kind of get that ourselves, all of it, because the key to running a successful business is having a 4-wheel drive.
Yes.
You do need sales and marketing, but you also need financial prudence and control. You need processes and systems. You need products that lead people in a certain way, and you've got to, have a great culture to develop your people.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. It takes time.
Yeah. But it's a terrific metaphor. I love it. And there's so much in your book that's so great. It's what I love about your book is that it's a great mix of yes, we kind of really need to understand about how we can find our purpose and how we need that to drive us. But you've got these lovely, also very practical things, exercises that you give us to do, like, for instance, your product matrix, which I think is really a very useful thing in the book to help us, look at in detail and analyze what it is that we're doing, because that's the other thing, I think, isn't it, that sometimes businesses can take on a bit of a sort of a life of their own, and as you talk about the functional silos, but there are other elements as well. There are other things that can be happening under our noses, or we get sort of blind in a way to what's actually happening in our business, and suddenly, before we know it, maybe we're not doing exactly what we set out to do in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, mission creep's classic. You start off doing one thing, you've got a real clear vision, and then the market, your customer said, well, can you just do this? And you say, oh yeah, that's an opportunity, I'll go and do that. And that makes that. When you're starting, you want any revenue you can get, and so on. But before you know it, that principle grows, and you're landing out doing a whole wide range of things that you haven't developed really honed processes, systems, and procedures for, which means that actually it's hard work, you're inefficient, you're running around, and you're not delivering a particularly fantastic result.
Yes.
So one of my keys is about actually do less.
Yes.
And get progressively better and better and better at doing it, so that and of course, when you augment that with some of the online stuff, and you can then leverage that, so you become really good and really leveraged, and that allows you to develop a business which serves many people, provides huge value, at the same time as not running yourself ragged, to be able to deliver it, and that's truly exciting. Because I can create a business now, to generate all the the wealth and status that I've previously enjoyed, without having all the infrastructure of factories or thousands of team members to help it to happen.
Of course.
And of course, that's available to many other people who have got smarts that they can share.
Absolutely. So many opportunities these days, aren't there?
Yeah, no, it's it. And the thing is, it is a really exciting time. It's also a really scary time, which is why we see the whole Brexit Trump thing. You've got people who are getting left behind because the whole technology thing is growing. As an individual, we have the ability now to take our smarts and share it with the world. 10 years ago, that wasn't possible. It's now very easy, and so there's an opportunity now for and people are doing it. The people are absolutely smashing it online. But of course, you're always going to get the stars and celebrities. But even if you just use online stuff to augment your existing face-to-face business, you'll start moving in a direction that allows you to give more value, because consultants, trainers, charging 500,000, 2,000 pounds a day, whatever the day rate is, that's going to get harder and harder.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you got stuff, you can get stuff free online. You can get people on memberships online, subscription services, training program. The whole thing's getting harder and harder just to turn up and expect people to pay you a day rate.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, you can then codify all that in online programs, augment it with coaching, and maybe on a sort of a group level, so that people learn from each other's experiences to make it much more affordable. You provide more value to more people, so actually you make more money and less time. So everybody wins.
Fantastic. And I understand you have some free training available for...
Yes, I do. If you go to my site, meaningfulsuccess.co.uk/purpose, take you through some simple exercises to help you nail your purpose. Because I know a lot of people think there's this, you know, if I just know what my purpose is, all my dreams will come true. And actually, our purpose isn't out there to discover. We don't find our purpose, we actually create it.
Yes, yes.
And and it's not just one thing. So I look at it multiple perspectives to help you build your current purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I say current purpose because actually our purpose changes.
Yes.
My purpose when I was in my 20s was totally different to what it is now in my 50s.
Yes.
And everything in between, because actually I mature, I change, my life circumstances change, industry change, everything changes. There is no one purpose to discover. It's actually, what purpose do you want to create for you now?
Yes.
Because that will serve you for the next 5 or 10 years.
Yes.
Because beyond that, you will be into another chapter. Things will have moved on. You have to. This whole thing about, we don't even hear about it anymore, about jobs for life.
No.
Yeah. But this thing about we're a world now where reinventing ourselves regularly is becoming more and more common.
Yes.
It's not easy.
Yeah. No. It's a life skill that we have to get better at, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I'm at mid-50s. I run marathons. I feel in many ways more alive now than I did in my 20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to retire at 65, even if I,
No.
It's like, this is why it's all quite exciting, because actually some of us, people are middle-aged now. We've got a whole bunch of experience and knowledge and wisdom. And actually, we can shape that and share that with a much wider audience, and see ourselves to a very happy third stage in our lives.
Well, Tim, that's a brilliant note to end our chat on, and we're indeed extremely glad to have your highly valuable and expertise and knowledge and experience and all those lovely things that you've brought to us at the Authority Guides and put in your fantastic book. So thank you very much for joining us, and for everyone who's interested in looking at Tim's absolutely free of charge training, the website, as Tim said, will also be on the slide at the end of this video, so you can take that away and you can buy his book from Amazon. The link will be there too. And thank you very much, Tim. Lovely to speak with you today.
Thank you, Sue. And it's wonderful also to be part of a community of great authors, is the Authority Guide series, which is some great people, some great insights. So check out the other people and books in the series, because it's a great community that's growing as well.
Yeah, it is. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.